Morning, folks. Mike Rasmussen here, giving you my update from our council meeting last night, May 16th. We actually technically had two council meetings last night. We had our normal monthly meeting, which was at 7 o'clock, but before that, we had oh, I'm sorry, my phone is ringing here in my office. Um, um, before the normal council meeting, we had a meeting that was. Sorry, I'm just gonna turn this off.
Hello, you have reached the voicemail for Painted State Distilling in Smyrna, Delaware. For current offerings and hours of operation,
Ah,
please
boy, this is
reference our
awkward.
webpage at paintedstave.com.
Sorry, had to figure out how to turn it off. Okay. Um, Sorry about that. So, before the normally scheduled meeting, we had a special meeting to talk about the town's debt as it revolves around capital projects. So I'll give a quick update on what the normal town meeting stuff was, and then talk a little bit more about the debt piece, because that was actually the majority of the conversations that we had yesterday. So first off, major updates. The first Smyrna at Night the first Friday, which is now what we're doing as part of the Smyrna at Night events, all through the summer, May through September. There's going to be a first Friday event. Music, if the weather cooperates, the idea is that it's out on Main Street. The weather did not cooperate for this first one in May, but Citizens Hose Company was gracious enough to let us move it into their facility. So that was hosted over at Citizens Hose Company. It was great music, great folks. We hope that all the rest of them are out on Main Street like we planned to. But coming up with contingencies for weather is always just part of doing anything in the summer. So that means the next one is coming up June 3rd, and then every first Friday after that through the summer. Hope that you come out, check out some cool music, come downtown, enjoy some beverages, things like that. The big one, Smyrna at Night event, is scheduled for June 18th. Final preparations and everything are underway for that, what it's going to look like. It will be a bit different than it's been in years past, in that there's going to be three main stages. One that's going to be near Citizens Hose Company down here on Commerce Street, another one that's going to be down on Main Street, closer to the Four Corners, and then the main stage, which will be at the end of Market Street Plaza as it's been in the past. But you can expect the same things. Great music going on all day. There's going to be food trucks. There's going to be beverages. All sorts of fun things going on. So please, if it's not on your schedule already, Saturday, June 18th. I think it's going to be running from noon till 8 o'clock. So come out, spend some time, see your friends and family and everybody, and enjoy a wonderful day in downtown Smyrna, June 18th. That's a major update. Coming up in a couple of weeks here, the Smyrna Police Department. Actually, last night we got to do something that's always fun, which is swear in some new officers. We have two new officers who are joining the force after they finish the academy, which will be coming up here at the end of May. That pretty closely brings us to a full complement of officers, which is something that Chief James has been working very hard on recruitment to get us up to fully staffed based on what our community needs are. So we swore in two new officers last night with their families, which is always fun. So more new faces out on the street. I know for the folks who've been around for a while, there's a lot of new officers out and about these days. The department is actually doing their annual meeting on June 1st. That's an awards ceremony for the staff. So if you are connected with the police department or you'd like to participate and check that out, that's June 1st, 10 o'clock. The awards ceremony is going to be at the police station. You can come check that out. Couple little updates. We're still working through plans. If you're out on Lake Como and you've heard about this, plans to make some repairs to the dam. Getting quotes for what that will look like. We now have two proposals for what the dam replacement will look like. It's not actually a full replacement, but we're basically just doing a repairs to some valves and things that are underwater. But it will involve some work on the lake. So if you're driving past there, hopefully in the next couple of months this will take place, and you'll see a cofferdam go in and some dewatering. There may be a small detour as we do work underneath on the dam right there, and the bridge heading right over Main Street. So more to be said as we get closer and we finalize what that work's going to look like. Those are updates from last night. the only real major item on our agenda last night was the approval of something that we talked about last time, which is moving the town's workers' comp insurance to DFIT, which is the Municipal Cooperative Workers' Comp Plan. This got talked about last time. Council members wanted some more information. What would the implementation look like? What are potential costs and savings for it? In the end, we voted to make the change. We're going to join 8 other municipalities here in the state that have this co-op that does workers' comp insurance. Hopefully this improves some of the services, takes away some issues that we've had in the past with workers' comp. It also provides our staff with a lot more training opportunities. The buying power of multiple municipalities to provide training for their staff, certainly potential cost savings there, and actually getting the trainings that we really need for our team versus having to try and one-off schedule them. We can sort of coordinate with other people and make sure that we get the trainings that our folks need. So that was the major actions on the council meeting. Like I said, not a lot of stuff. The big piece of what we spent time talking about last night was actually in the special meeting that happened before that at 5 o'clock, which was to go over the town's debt service as it relates to capital projects. And we're specifically talking about water, sewer, electric, major capital expenses that the town needs to take on as a utility provider. While we are a normal municipality, we are also essentially a utility provider as well for water, sewer, and electric for all of the people in Smyrna, and actually some of the houses connected to Smyrna that aren't technically in the town. That poses significant issues or challenges for us because there's infrastructure planning that we need to take care of as part of the provider for those services and planning. So the town has been doing a lot of work over the last probably couple of years identifying what huge or potential major infrastructure projects need to look like to modernize some of the existing infrastructure that we have and help address some deficiencies in service, as well as to plan for future expansion and future needs of the community. And there are really 5 main water sewer infrastructure projects that are on our list. Some of them have been actually on the list for a very long time. So one of the major ones is East Commerce Street utilities heading out to Locust Street. If you were last year, there was a big problem with a sewer failure out on Locust Street and the forced main that goes to that. That created a lot of challenges and it exacerbated some issues that we have with aging utilities that are underneath Commerce Street, at that east section of Commerce Street. So that's a big piece that we need to address and replace. There's going to be the need for a new plant, sewer treatment plant and well in the southeast section of town as we grow more people down. The Simon's Corner continues to grow as the Graceville subdivision and Centerville subdivision come online. Those are places that we're going to need additional services for the community, and we're going to add in additional capacity for that. In the north side of town, we've got 2 big projects. One is a water tower. This has been in the works or planned in some way for up to 15 years or so. The trigger has never been pulled on building a new water tower that would ultimately be necessary to provide services to all of the potential growth that the town will see in the northern section. We're talking about a lot of potential homes up there, as well as additional commercial needs as places on Route 13 develop or redevelop. And then there's a north of Duck Creek utilities piece, which is a water tower is one component. Then you need the sewer plant, you need the pump stations, you need the ability to actually then divert and send water and sewer where it needs to get. So there's a big chunk of money there. And then lastly is North Main Street. So as most folks have seen, South Main Street from the Four Corners down to Route 13 Lake Como has been redone. There's still a little bit to do because Verizon still hasn't taken out their service lines. But for the most part, that project is close to being wrapped up. The next phase of that is then going from Four Corners all the way up to Glenwood, which we call the North Main Street project. And the engineering is already underway. There have been some planning meetings with community members who would be impacted by that. That is another big infrastructure. All told, the town has an estimate that there's around $20 million or so worth of infrastructure projects that address water and sewer. That doesn't include potential electric pieces that we'll have to talk about as well, but this is more these critical water and sewer infrastructure things that we know we need to address pretty quickly. $20 million is a lot, so we need to sit down and think about how we can potentially pay for a lot of this. And there's two ways that municipalities tend to fund these type of projects. There's doing a bond, which is, as a municipality, we can issue bonds. We actually have a AA bond rating for the towns, which is great. We can go out and pretty quickly issue bonds and raise up to about $10 million in a bond issuance in order to bring in some of these funds for these projects. The other is through revolving loans, strategic revolving funds that we can apply for individually per project through the state. Those are typically at a little bit lower cost savings. They tend to have a little bit better interest rates because they're not going out into a private market, but they also have shorter terms associated with them, and so you can actually have larger yearly payments associated, but lower interest, lower total costs over time. And so the conversation last night was really about, we have these significant needs for the town. What is the best way for us to move forward in trying to fund them? And how do we stage that so that we ultimately have the funds we need when we need them? We limit our debt service as much as we possibly can, because ultimately debt service is paid for by the utilities that are associated with it, the impact fees, right? There are costs to infrastructure. We've got PFM as our financial managers. They brought in a proposal, a set. They sort of walked us through all of the different debt pieces that we have, and there was actually a great conversation amongst the staff that was there and the council members about what we need, how we can go about doing this. In the end, what we decided to do is to use a sort of a step process for beginning to fund these pieces. Right now, there is about $10 million worth of work that we know needs to happen before any of the other pieces can happen. So the North Water Tower and the East Commerce Street utility replacements are two very big pieces. One, East Commerce Street, there's the potential of failure of that system if we don't do something, so that's very important. And any potential growth to the north side of town relies on the water tower. And so that's sort of a linchpin to move forward the number of other pieces. So what we decided to do is to move forward with asking PFM to put together a formal proposal for a bond issuance for up to $10 million of debt that would be allocated towards moving those two projects forward. And then what we would do is look at the final engineering costs for those other projects and think about what the best system of financing those is likely to be, whether it is going back to a bond or whether it's using some of these revolving fund options. The critical piece is moving forward. Ultimately, this will take a little while. This will probably take a couple of months to come together, but it gives our team, our engineering, our public works team, the ability to know that those funds are going to be coming and that they can move forward with the final planning, working on going out to bid for these projects and stuff like that. It's pretty complex stuff. In the end, as the utility provider, the town has to make sure that we can provide services for our community, and ultimately that involves taking on some of these pretty large tranches of debt at times. But it's what the town needs to grow. We need to be able to provide existing services, and ultimately we need to be able to make sure that as commercial customers and as additional residences are built in this community, that we've got the water and sewer infrastructure to meet those needs. We don't need sewer failures. We don't need electric grid failures. And if we kick the can down the road on this stuff, we will end up with that type. So we'll probably hear more about this as we finally do the bond issuance and as these individual projects move forward. But the council spent nearly 2 hours really sort of digging into this last night, which was a great conversation. The team at PFM, the council, the staff did a great job presenting what this looked like, answering questions, and I think most of us felt pretty comfortable moving forward with this sort of plan of action. So that was a lot, and in the end it ended up being almost 4 hours of time for covering a few different items. If there's any questions, obviously let me know. Please reach out to me either individually or here. Always happy to try and get you more information where I can. remember, Smyrna at Night is June 18th for the big one. Plan that, get that on your calendars. Hopefully we have beautiful weather. And all the first Fridays, so the next one is going to be June 3rd, downtown. Please plan to come out and see everybody, and hope that you have a wonderful day. It is gorgeous outside. If you can, get out there, have some fun. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful week.